night, on site, on location at the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. It is right in the Home Depot Plaza. And for those of you at the fair that are looking for a break from the rain and the sun, you can come right over here to the Wildcat. And many of you know the Wildcat from being here for many years. And we've been here with Danny for, I think we're heading towards 6.5 years right now. So shout out to Danny, Tome, and the team. I'm happy to have Syracuse Mets Spotlight Night. I broke out the jersey for tonight, and this is one of the fresh hats I got. And I've gotten nothing but compliments. One of my favorite hats, my mom, she's like, that's a sharp hat. Normally I get yelled at because I own about 300 hats. So we're here with Jason Smorol, the general manager of the Syracuse Mets. Jason, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Dan. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely.
You do look sharp in that hat.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I needed to get something different and unique. And shout out to you because I walked into, and I grew up at MacArthur Stadium with my dad, and so, you know, we were around at the time the Blue Jays, and then went through the Nationals connection, now the Mets and NBT, you know, in the new stadium, well, newer stadium, I'll say here. And so being at MacArthur and being around that, I loved always going into the gift shop, getting the sports cards and whatnot. I was hoping, I was like, you know what, I got to get a Syracuse Mets hat. I got to go find a good one. And I was looking through, and I give you credit, you had like at least 30 different hats, and I'm a hat guy, so I look for something unique, and I don't own anything like this, so shout out to whoever designed these for you.
Katie Stewart takes care of all of our merchandise, and she does a great job with it. And, you know, it's really, there's a lot of stuff in there, so we have a lot to choose from, and we have a great guy, William, that works in the store this year, and he is a great folder. He's actually has some great retail experience, so we really got some good people over the stadium to make these things happen.
You know, it's been a few years now. We've had some time with the Syracuse Mets. How have you looked at this now that you've had some time to let it marinate, and you are obviously a part of other iterations of this Syracuse AAA franchise? So what's it been like to be the Syracuse Mets?
It's nothing short of fantastic. I mean, the Mets coming in, you know, essentially saved Syracuse baseball again. Now, when they came in, this is the 4th year with the Mets. The Wilpons were the owners of the Mets originally when we first started this, and they purchased the Community Baseball Club of Central New York, and the Wilpons were great, and the Mets were great, and then an ownership changed, and now it's the Cohens, and it's a little better. So it's the Mets have been great supporters of the community. You know, the Met effect, I say this all the time, the Met effect is real. You know, in 2019, the first year that we had the Mets in the stadium on field, because our first year we were owned by the Mets, but we still had the Nationals on the field. So the first year we had the actual Mets players, we had Mets jerseys, we were all Mets. We had the largest increase of attendance of any minor league team in the country that didn't have a new stadium. And that's the Met effect. We didn't change any, I get to take credit for it. We still had Dollar Thursday, we still did our silly stuff, but it was really Mets fans. And, you know, and then 2020 was 2020, thank you COVID. 21, weird, thank you COVID. And now this year, you know, it's back to being quote unquote normal, and we're on pace to exceed 2019. I mean, the Mets, we still are the largest drawing team on the road. We're still one of the highest internet streams on MILB.TV. We outdraw the Yankees on the road. We outstream the Yankees all over. Mets fans are nuts. Alex Cohen was in our stadium last year, and I was giving her a tour around, and we were talking about this same conversation about the Met effect. And I said, Mets fans are nuts. And she said, I know. And I said, well, you might be the biggest crazy Met fan. You bought the team for $2.4 billion. She's like, we might be the craziest Mets fans out there.
You know, and it's really cool to see this. And I was talking to you off the air about it, that I just kept thinking in my head when you saw the Blue Jays for so long. I think it was like, what, 31, 32 years, really, really long time. And then when you saw it come to the Nationals, I had said years ago, I'm like, this is orange and blue. This is Syracuse. We are known for orange. We're known for that blue that goes with the orange. That's who we are. That's what the university is. Why not the Mets? Why can't we get that? And I had said for years it would be an easy, sellable, perfect marriage because people already own a ton of orange and blue stuff that says Syracuse on it that you can just wear out to the game. So did you feel like I felt, that it was kind of a long time coming, that it always made sense, but then it finally became a reality?
There's different ways of getting the Mets. I mean, we could have one way could have just been to become affiliated with the Mets. Becoming owned by the Mets is a whole another story. But the Mets make sense, and whether it's the colors or just a team that's from New York, just a team that's on television every night, just a team that's on the radio. You have access to these guys. There was no real connection to the Blue Jays. You had to wait till they were playing the Yankees so you could see the guys on TV. There was no real connection to the Nationals. You had to wait till they got in the World Series so you could see some of the guys on TV. So, now we have that great connection where Brett Beatty is here one day and the next day he's in New York. Steven Nagosic is here one day, he's pitching in New York. You can go down. We've done 200 player moves this year, most of which are up and back to New York. Yeah,
and when you look at all these moves, and I wanted to get into that as we have Syracuse Mets Spotlight Night here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, with General Manager Jason Smorol here. With all those moves that have come through, I became, and we talked about this right before we got started as well, full disclosure, I am who I am on and off the air. So last year I had dated a girl that lived on Long Island. I learned it's not in Long Island, it's on Long Island. And she had a terrific family. Her and I didn't really click, but I really wanted to be a part of her family, and her parents, I think, wanted me there. So maybe I'll be an adopted son of, just always have that honor. But
you're going to be that guy. She's going to be like, why is Dan over here?
Yeah.
I broke up with him a year ago, Dad.
Yeah.
We're like, Dan's great.
And her mom's going to be like, why don't you go home? Because we'd rather have Dan here. So I told her, I said, if you and I don't work out, I'm going after your mom. She's fantastic. But her mom and her grandmother, huge Mets fans, and her sister. So I got to know the Mets through them, and I became a Jacob deGrom fan just from being around it. And then Jacob deGrom rolling through Syracuse, that to me is like a forever thank you moment, because deGrom, I could not stop watching him last year, like just cheering on him, hoping for him. And then I took my dad for his birthday was it Father's Day? No, it was Father's Day. We went out to Cooperstown for the first time in a long time that we went together, and I brought him out there, and I was looking at ERA and all the numbers that are in the Hall of Fame, and I remember saying to my dad, I go, if deGrom keeps playing, he's going to be at the top of that. So what was that experience like to have Mr. deGrom in Syracuse?
That's the kind of Haley's Comet that you always hope for. It makes me a much better general manager than I am, but that's the reason that you want to have, it brings you back to the day that the old school time when Strasburg was here and he was that phenom. And people can say they came to historic MBD Bank Stadium with their family, with their kids, with their girlfriends, and saw Jacob deGrom pitch. He was in a Conguero State Syracuse uniform, not a Syracuse Mets uniform, but he's been here twice. And, a packed stadium, that excitement, it just gets everybody worked up. And that's the kind of stuff that builds a fan base. So, I still see people that remember, Thurman Munson being here and Reggie Jackson and the exhibition games. And, people that, everybody from the city of Syracuse seem to have been at that Steven Strasburg game. So it's the kind of stuff that that's the reason you want a AAA team here, because you get to build that memory. You get to say, I saw Jacob deGrom pitch, and when that guy's in the Hall of Fame, you're going to say, remember we saw him pitch in Syracuse.
Yeah, and there's been so many incredible players here, and I just remember going to games as a kid when they were the Syracuse Chiefs, and just collecting the sports cards and going back and looking at them and going, these are really, really, really good, timeless Major League Baseball players. So what can you say to that factor? You're part of the farm system, and in this single A, double A, triple A world that we live in, en route to Major League Baseball, you in Syracuse get to be that last stop before they make that jump. You've spent so many years experiencing people realizing their dreams. How have you kind of looked back upon the fact that you get to, in a way, be a part of history every year?
It's interesting because, it's not always our team, but you got to think about the other teams that come. So all of those Boston Red Sox have come through here with Pawtucket and Worcester. All those Yankees have come through with Scranton. I remember Aaron Judge coming through, and Sanchez and Severino and all those guys. And some of the, all the Pittsburgh Pirates used to come in, and the Cleveland Indians come in, and you really just get that opportunity to see that top-notch level professional athlete. The top 750 baseball players in the entire world are in Major League Baseball. The next 750 are right here in Syracuse, New York. So it's great watching the guys. And right now we have a great opportunity because a lot of the prospects are with us. So Beatty was with us. Cup of coffee with Syracuse. God bless, and I hope I never see him ever again. I hope he stays upstairs and, we never see him again. That's always the hope. But right now we've got Mark Vientos. We've got Francisco Alvarez. Daniel Polka is one of those guys that he's just kind of a legend in AAA, and he's Polk smash. He just hits bombs. He's a great guy, but just great baseball. And to see guys like Nagosic, you never know what's going to happen with him. And to see we have these two guys that throw 100 miles an hour. We have Bryce Montez de Oca and Otonez, and de Oca is killing it. So you're going to see these guys tomorrow on the television.
Well, and the thing, I just remember sitting there with my dad a couple weeks ago and watching that 6-5 victory for the Mets against Buffalo, and you're talking about throwing smoke. Like, my dad was just like, wow. And then he's like, where is it? He's like, where's the number? And I was like, it's in the bottom right. There's 100 mile, 92. It's like, and you just keep watching this, and I'm like, it looks easy to throw triple digits for some of these Mets pitchers out there.
And these guys are great, but then I love a guy like Alex Claudio, who was a major leaguer for 6 years with the White Sox, and he just throws junk. He'll come in with 85, and then he'll slip a little 66-mile-an-hour pitch in there, and he's effective. So it's all the different. That's the thing I like about it, is the team that we have in April is different than the team we have in June. The team we have now is different than the team we had in June. So minor league baseball, you have to understand we're not here to win games necessarily. We're here to develop players and send guys up to New York when they need them. But it's nice that Buck and Billy Epler have said, hey, we need to develop players, but winning has to be part of our mentality. And we want to win all the way through the organization. So the guys play tough. They're scrappy right now. We're never out of any game, and it's just every year is a snowflake. They're similar, but every year is a little bit different.
Well, and you see, and like you brought it up, that you want to win. Of course you want to go out there and do that, but the better your team plays and the better they perform, some of these guys are on rehab assignments. The goal is always to bring them home to the Mets, and to the guys that, like Alvarez and Beatty and a bunch of these guys that have come through, it's that, these are your prospects, these are your up-and-comers, and you want them to go up there and you want them to stay up there. So it's hard to win that way. Just like, you brought up the crunch with the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Lightning have been so good, and they need those players. So when the crunch get ready for a playoff run, maybe they miss the playoffs, maybe they make it and get bumped out early. How do you deal with that? Like, you're developing these players. Obviously, the Syracuse Mets are doing an incredible job because a ton of them are being called up. So in this season alone, we've seen a lot of moves. So knowing how good that's been, but at the same time, you want to keep winning, you want to play in the postseason. How do you balance that? And as a general manager, how do you deal with the fact where it's like, if they're getting really, really good, they're probably not going to be pushing you toward your postseason. They're probably going to be helping the New York Mets.
It's very easy. We don't have any control over it, and we know our place in the pecking order. We're here for the New York Mets. The Rochester Red Wings are there for the Washington Nationals. It doesn't matter. So we can only control what we can control. We can't control the play in the field. We can't control where the players are going to go. We can't control the weather. We can only control our promotions, how clean the stadium is, our positive attitude, our customer service.
Yeah.
And we build everything to just be about, fun and affordability and have great promotions. And, oh, by the way, there's a fantastic baseball game going on here. And you get lucky every once in a while. The stars align. And this year it was a great example. 2014, the stars aligned. Washington was full. All their prospects came to Syracuse. We were one of the greatest baseball teams I've ever seen in AAA minor league baseball. This year, all the prospects in that trade with the Dodgers ended up in Rochester, and they were killing everybody. Yeah. And then the trade deadline came. They took all the prospects up to the Nationals, and then the Rochester Red Wings lost 17 games in a row, and now they're out of it. So you can't control any of that stuff. You just do your Dollar Thursdays and your fireworks and your Marvel Nights and your Faith and Family Nights, and you hope people come out to see the baseball.
Here with Jason Smorol, the general manager of the Syracuse Mets. It's the Syracuse Mets Spotlight Night on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Open 7 days a week and for takeout and delivery, 315-487-2222. So you brought up the different promotions you're doing. You have another Marvel Night coming up here. I very fittingly wore my Invicta
I've been
watch.
looking at that gigantic watch. Is that an Iron Man watch?
It is an Iron Man limited edition Invicta watch, and I know you got some Iron Man stuff going on. So bring me into Marvel Night, because I am a huge Marvel fan. Favorite character of all time, Spider-Man, and then right there with him, Venom. So bring me into Marvel Night. How did you get this to come about? Because this, especially in today's world, is a very easy sell.
Back in the day, we'd always, a lot of these minor league teams would just do like superhero night, But when you're able to partner with Marvel and minor league baseball and Major League Baseball partnered with Marvel, and it gave us the opportunity to get the actual Marvel behind us. You had your choice of, do you guys want to participate in this promotion? And we jumped in. We said, we're all in on Marvel. So we've had 3 Marvel nights. Yeah. We did an earlier one with Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man was actually in the house. Then we did Iron Man, and now we're going to finish up later in the season. So it is Friday. Marvel's the 9th. So it's going to be the 9th. So it's Friday, September 9th. Captain America is going to be in the house. Yeah. We're going to wear the Captain America jerseys. We're going to auction those off for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. Healthway, a great local company up in Pulaski, is sponsoring that night. Perry's Ice Cream is a sponsor that night. We're going to have superhero ice cream. It's a craft beer fireworks Friday. We're going to have KCBC superhero beer. Yeah. We're going to have Captain America in the house. Captain America, we're going to do something with him during the day. Yeah. Oh, you get to use the Marvel images. You get to use the Marvel name. You get to use the Marvel music for the fireworks. You get to use all of that Marvel stuff, and you get the real deal. You get the real Captain America to come here and take pictures with everybody. So, the hard part is to get that information out, because there's so many people that come, and they might come with all their kids. I remember Iron Man night. There was a family with a bunch of kids, and they were getting ready to sit in their seats. I said, Iron Man's here. And the parents were like, what? Yeah. And the kids were like, what? Iron Man's here? So they went over, and then I saw them over in line to get the pictures. So thank you for helping us get the word out. That's Friday the 9th is that. We have a whole week's worth of promotions. We started our Bark in the Park on Tuesday. We have 3 of those. We can bring your dogs to the ballpark. Yeah. We have a Dollar Thursday with the Congueros. That Jacob deGrom was a Congueros de Syracuse on the Dollar Thursday. Yeah. Then we have the Marvel Night on Friday, and then Faith and Family Night's always a huge night. Mookie Wilson's going to come in. Oh, nice. He's going to sign autographs for the fans, and then after the game, we're going to have players come out and give testimony. Mookie will give testimony and preach a little bit. We'll have a band on the field. Joe Bolignone and his Hammond B3 organ and the Mission Syracuse band. They are tight. So we'll have a little praise and a little gospel music after the game. That's going to be great. and then we'll wrap it all up on a Kids Eat Free Family Sunday. It's 9/11, so it's First Responders Day. I see all this stuff for the Fairmount Fire Department here in the Wildcat pub. So we're working with Syracuse Police Department, Syracuse Fire Department, all the local EMTs, all the local volunteer fire departments.
Yeah.
We're trying to sell tickets through a FIVO ticket link. $4 of those will go to the First Responders Children's Foundation. We're going to recognize some firefighters and police and EMTs on the field. We're going to give away challenge coins to the crowd, the fans, and the first responders. So that's a whole week's worth of promotions.
Yeah.
We get Monday off, and then we have another week.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. And at Danny's home, really good here with the Fairmount Fire and Rescue, Camillus Police Department, and always doing a lot of great things in the community. And I want to thank all of our first responders, our police officers, everyone working in the volunteer firefighters and those that are there every day. Without these amazing people who put their life on the line for strangers every single day, life would be drastically different. And I don't think people fully know that unless you've experienced it. And I would like for you all to appreciate, thank, and show love for the first responders and our police and our firefighters and everyone involved in the EMTs and everyone. Because, being someone who was in New York City minutes from JFK that was hit by a drunk driver and could have been paralyzed from the neck down, my EMTs that were there that day were part of the reason why I'm here and that I knew what to do. So, yeah.
I needed one last night. I was at a restaurant. A 95-year-old woman fell over. She severely cut her arm. Her son didn't know what to do. I just got on the phone. I called 911, and someone came over to help that woman. And we don't have these volunteer departments and EMTs. Where would we be?
We would be in a whole world of hurt. And so we appreciate y'all. I thank y'all. I send y'all love. I sat here on stage with my guy Seamus Shanley, who played at West Jenny, won a championship there, played offensive line at Syracuse, and now he's a member of the police force as his father, Joe Shanley. So big shout out to everybody that's keeping us safe at night, because most of us will go our whole lives not having to worry about a thing. And I implore you to appreciate the why, that you don't have to worry. So, when we talk about promotions, and you just brought up a few days of it, Jason, bring me into your team and who you have, because it is so much fun to see how adventurous. I remember growing up, and then I worked in Scranton, ESPN, worked in Orlando at ESPN, and eventually found my way back here, worked at Fox Online and Scout, worked at The Score, and then started my company when I was 26. So looking back over all this time, there were different promotions here and there and different things that happened, but you have just dove in, head first, feet first, arms, the whole body. It's a cannonball for the Mets. Bring me into the team that works with you and who's sitting in that lab when you're coming up with these ideas, because there's some really cool things that you get to do really every season.
You nailed it. It's really a great team, and it's our assistant general managers, Katie Stewart and Brian Popek, our sales team, Kathleen McCormick and Julie Cardinale, to the execution of Anthony Cianchetta, who does our multimedia, and he makes all the graphics, and Jed Davis, who does our social media and does all of our graphics, and it goes all the way down to the groundskeepers and the accountants and the hospitality and the group sales, because it's a whole group effort. And the schedule sometimes, and we wanted to be, when we took over here, we're going into our 9th year, and for the most part, the whole team is still with me. Katie Berger started as an intern, and now she's the assistant general manager. And Kathleen and Julie have been there. And we're at a point where, we're such a family, we know what each other's thinking. And we say, all right, well, some things lay us up. It's opening day, it's opening day. It's 4th of July, it's 4th of July. But when something like Marvel comes up, or when we used to do shooting the guy out of the cannon, or, we try to do something silly, we'll throw it out there, and sometimes we'll just try it, and we'll see what works. We make our adjustments at the end of the season. But it is a lot. It's 75 games, and there's something going on every night. We try just as hard in April as we do in these last 15 games. And, so when you as a fan come to, Marvel night on Friday, and we've got Captain America there, and you'll see the Marvel cutouts to take pictures, and you'll see the Marvel music up there. You know, there's a whole slew of activity that has to go in to get that to happen. Getting approval from Marvel, getting approval from Major League Baseball, building it all. We do all that stuff in-house. And then simultaneously, we've got a promotion on Saturday, and we got a dog park in the park earlier, and we've got First Responders Day. So it's 6 in a row, a day off, and then we have another 6 in a row with Irish Night and Star Wars Night and another Kids Eat Free Family Sunday and another Dollar Thursday. And then we got Education Day on the last day of the year. So it is a lot of work, and I can't thank my staff enough. I can't thank, you know, everybody over there at the Syracuse Mets. We're the smallest staff in all of AAA. We're probably smaller than most AA teams, but they care, they're passionate, they're grinders, and we put on a heck of a show.
You brought up Katie, started as an intern and now is the assistant GM. What does that say about this organization, that you can start coming in, getting experience as an intern, maybe making money, maybe not, you know, internships some are long, some are short. I did an internship with Disney, you know, and they have ones that are in the summer, a few months. So when you come in as an intern, you become the assistant GM. What does that say about what Katie's done personally, and what does it say about what you're willing to do as the general manager if you see a good work ethic on this staff?
Well, it's all Katie Stewart. I mean, she's fantastic, and she's a hard worker, and she's smart. And as long as I guess I get credit for it, but you see someone like that, it's pretty easy. You say that person cares and is a hard worker and is smarter than anybody else in the room. You know, she needs to, you know, keep doing what she's doing, and she's just eventually she should be the general manager. But I have to keep my phony baloney job here. She does all the work. But you know, you got to be open to it. You can't say you can't. You got to really take a look at the people around you and see who really cares, who really gets things done. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman or black or white. It doesn't matter. The talent is what separates people, and the passion, and that's what we look for. So, you know, the people that are in our group sales department, they've all started as interns for us, and they're the first ones there, the last ones to leave, the ones that'll do anything you ask, the ones that have fun with it. And this game can chew you up and spit you out. I always say the dumbest of the dumb do minor league baseball. I mean, we have 75 games plus all the other events that we do. You know, it's quite a grind. It's just like the player. It's a grind for the players. It's a grind for us in the front office and the grounds crew specifically, and everybody. So it takes a certain soul to be able to do this job.
Syracuse Mets Spotlight Night here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. And for takeout and delivery, 315-487-2222. Here with General Manager Jason Smorol and, of course, myself, Dan Tortora, and you, as you know, you can call me DT. So, Jason, to go off of what we were just talking about with promoting from within, Dabo Sweeney, I asked him the question, one of the most successful people in the world of sports, and I asked him about his offensive and defensive coordinator because eventually Brent Venables moved on, and you know we've seen this. Tony Elliott just went to Virginia as the offensive coordinator. Jeff Scott, another guy that I interviewed and spent time with, he's at South Florida as of a couple of years ago. So he promoted from within, and when he promoted from within, I said to him, you know, what made you do it? What made these guys the right fit? And I'll never forget that he said to me, he said, if you have somebody working on your staff that has earned the right for a promotion and you don't promote them, you kill the culture of your team.
That's 100%. And we have a culture. We're grinders. We do it. We know why we do it. We do it for the fans. We do more with less. We try harder. We think we try harder. No is generally not an acceptable answer. We got to find a way to yes. And we have a great culture, and I love it. And we work hard. We play hard. And the best ones hate baseball. Katie Berger, the ones that like baseball, they're always watching the game. Katie Berger, Jon Stewart, Anthony, you know, we got to watch Jed. Jed's the social media guy. He loves baseball. He loves the Mets. But he does a fantastic job. And you can see that. And so now we used to promote more of our silly stuff on our social media. But Jed loves baseball, knows baseball. So now we're much more sporty in our social media, and we're much more baseball forward and really talking about our prospects, talking about our stars, and now our social media engagements is going even higher.
And that social media side of things and putting the message out. I mean, what I love about the Syracuse Mets, and logo means a lot to me, because during COVID I said, I never sat there and said, what do I do? And people said, they're like, what? Well, how did you handle COVID? Did you take time off? How did your show go on? I said, I was set up for it. All these other broadcasters had to learn how to play in my world, because I have a home studio, because I could social distance, because we're on the internet, we could do the things we needed to do. So I got advantageous, and my graphic designer, shout out to John Grenquist, we both graduated from Marywood University, and I said to him, I said, we have a company logo for Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, and then we have Wake Up Call, we have Super Powered Pop, our entertainment show. So those two together bond sports and entertainment like a Marvel night or a Star Wars night. And so they work hand in hand together with stuff like that. And on top of that, I was like, we have our Disney show, Do Diz with Dan, because I used to work at Disney, and that blew up on Instagram, so we get to help people with their Disney trips. And then we do comic book trails where we go around the country, maybe someday around the world. We pick a city and a town we're in, go to a random spot, and we promote that business. We buy something there, we get with the owner, and it's like a diners, drive-ins, and dives where we put on the map all these comic book and collectible shops, because it's a niche market where most of the owners work in their store all the time.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff we did. So I said to John, I go, I want to revamp everything. I want to do all of the logos. So we spent COVID redesigning everything and just commanding ourselves to be better. And so this Syracuse Mets logo that we can see here, and the S, and then also seeing the Mets with the Syracuse over the New York State, outline of our state. I love the designs, and I love what's been done, and I'd love for you to speak on that a little bit, because to me, you're not just resting on the laurels of the Mets. You've made yourself the Syracuse Mets, and that S really does hold some value now.
Yeah, something that was intentionally done. Again, originally it was the Wilpons family that came in here, and it was important to them at the time, obviously, to promote the Mets brand, but at the same time connect to Syracuse, because, and I'm not going to get an argument out of me. The Mets really are New York's team. They've got a team in Brooklyn, they've got a team in Binghamton, they've got a team in Syracuse, and you've got the New York Mets. So, their footprint is here. The Mets wanted to put a flag right in Syracuse, New York, and say, this is a Mets town. And I think someday it's going to be. And it was important to just not be, the state of New York with the word Mets over it. It was important for us to have Syracuse there. And as we going through the design of the renovated stadium, it was important to have the 315 Bullpen bar, the Salt City deck, the huge Syracuse on the scoreboard. Because the Mets want to connect with Syracuse and Central New York, and it's great branding. So the Mets are great, and the connection to Syracuse. When they first bought the team, everybody thought that we're going to just move the team and steal the team, and the Mets couldn't have said it any louder or prouder that they were committed to Syracuse and Central New York. And I think by signing a lease with the county. That puts us here till 2043. That kind of is a commitment to Syracuse and Central New York.
And I do say one of the questions that I got from a very avid Mets fan, a shout out to Dan Lansing, who's a big time fan and been a supporter of the show long as I remember. He sent me over a question here about what's coming up. He wanted to know about when the schedule for next season gets released. When we can expect to see some of this?
That's going to be very soon. We have the schedule. And we're just waiting on Major League Baseball to tell us. Michael Tricarico called me this morning. He said other teams are releasing their schedule. I was like, well, I haven't seen anything from Major League Baseball that says we're allowed to release it, so I'm not doing it. So we have next year's schedule. It's a great schedule. I love it.
So
we're tied we're tied to Major League Baseball because AAA. And that's why now we're playing to the end of September. So we're going to start when Major League starts. We're going to end right around when Major League ends, so they have access to those players. And now you're not going to have the September call-ups anymore, a situation where in 2014 they took all of our players and they took them upstairs. So, in the future, if we're ever going towards the playoffs, our guys probably are going to be here with us.
And is there anything, so you said you have the schedule, you're excited, it's a good one. Is there anything you can squeak out and tell us?
We have the Yankees are coming in on the 4th of July weekend. That's going to be awesome. Okay. We don't have to have the Yankees in early April anymore. We get the Yankees in really good spots.
Yeah, and the Yankees, so I spent part of my time, I went to school at Marywood University and then was on ESPN Radio in Scranton, Pennsylvania. So I spent time in Scranton Wilkes-Barre at that stadium. And now they're the Yankees. They were the Phillies affiliates, and so I did
Scranton Red Barons.
And with the Red Barons, I got to see that team that won the championship, that won the World Series. I got to spend some good time. I mean, the Utleys and the Howards and all that. Like, there was a bunch of guys I saw there. What do you like about the fact that the Yankees AAA is literally 2 hours south, almost in a straight line? I know it like the back of my hand, don't even have to think about it. You don't just have Mets and Yankees, but you're only 2 hours apart.
We're down there tonight, so we're playing Scranton right now.
And my buddy sent me a message. He goes, he saw the Mets were going to be on, and he was like, we got you guys tonight. So yeah,
it's great, and it keeps that rivalry. It's great that we play the Yankees. It's great that we play the Red Sox. It's great that we play the Blue Jays. But the Yankees coming here is usually a little bit more excitement, and you got to worry about it because you hear a big cheer, and then you look out there and you think that the Syracuse Mets just did something good, and some guy from Scranton probably just hit a home run, and all those Yankee fans are cheering for him. Like, oh, rats, Yankee fans.
I've been at games like that before where I've looked down and I heard cheering, and I looked up and I was like, what? And you know what? And this is very sad. So my Syracuse Orange fans, you better fix this in the men's and women's basketball season this year at the JMA Wireless Dome. I was at the Duke-Syracuse game, put my head down a couple times, heard a ton of cheers, and that's because the Duke fans had infiltrated the dome, and they were loud and proud. And I'll tell you, it sounded like it was a home crowd cheering, and I don't ever want Duke to feel at home in Syracuse.
I was at that game. They couldn't miss a shot. Yeah. I was next to some Duke guys. I was like, wow, they shot like 92%. They have it on the side. I was like, there's shooting percent 92% in the first half. But yeah, those guys, I stay to the end of the game no matter what at SU games. I won't leave. We're excited about the first football game this weekend. Yeah. We got a great relationship with SU, so they just had all their women coaches out. Coach Jack threw out a first pitch. Coach Trainer threw out a first pitch. So we're very excited about the start of football season.
And I wanted to get with you on that because Coach Felicia Leggett-Jack, she was, I said well before, I was like, she's the coach. And they're like, oh, we're doing a national search. I'm like, no, you're not. She's the coach. And there was nothing to any surprise when they brought her back, first woman to have her jersey retired. I was like, this is the prelude. They're going to hire her. They're doing this because she's coming back. So what was it like having her throw out the pitch recently?
Super exciting. She's very high energy. Couldn't be nicer. Coach Trainer was great. I didn't know much about her, but her excellence on the lacrosse field. Yeah. And then just to be able to have Sue Edson and the cheer squad and the dance team and have have some of the other teams in there in the night and just celebrate. We always, all the talk is the basketball team, the football team, the lacrosse team, but I've become a pretty good supporter of the women's basketball team. I love Coach Q as well. Yeah. So I like going to those games. And the soccer team is great. So it's always got to represent, and I'm a whole swath guy. So I don't just focus on football and basketball. I cheer on the Orange on all their levels.
And if I'm correct on your social media, did I see Lemoyne creep over there for something? Did they?
Lemoyne comes over. We we have a lot of Lemoyne Knights. They come over and they'll bring over some of their sports management kids.
Yeah.
Our bullpen catcher, Drew Ferino, is from Lemoyne College. And so the Mets wanted a bullpen catcher. I called up Scott Cassidy and said, hey, you got anybody? He's like, I got the best kid you're ever going to want.
Yeah.
And they were going to the playoffs this year. And I told our skipper, Kevin Bowles, I said, I got a guy, but he's busy. And he's like, no, I don't want him. He's in the playoffs. Let him do his thing. And when he's done, have him come on over here. Great kid. Thanks to Scott Cassidy for helping us out. And he's had a fantastic summer that he's never going to forget. I think he was in the bullpen catching Jacob deGrom. I think that he's been there catching all these major league pitchers. We've had Nate Fisher went upstairs the other day and did 3 great shutout innings. And Jose Buto is a great young guy that went up there. He got rocked a little bit in the first inning, but he settled down and he made it through. And the Mets ended up winning that game late. When you thought right off the bat he gave up 4 runs in the first inning, but he settled down. Nate Fisher did his job, and the Mets won late that game.
Hey, and I know Paz, a longtime partner of mine, Mon Paz Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. They just did their right out there. So you do a lot with other.
All of our popcorn machines broke, so we now just buy Mon Paz popcorn, and they make it, they bring it over, we sell it.
Yeah,
they're great.
Well, what you don't know is that they have a sniper, and they make sure that Mon Paz is over there now. So shout out to Jim and Angela. But they do an incredible job. And when they said they had said, we're shutting down the store prior to the fair, I think it was like a Tuesday night, and they said we're going to go out and do an employee appreciation. I thought they were just going to do it there, and they're like, no, they went over to the stadium and did it with the Mets. And so, I mean,
they were over in the first base patio.
And so you've done a lot with other local businesses, and you've done a lot with other teams locally. Why is that so important to you? Because right at the beginning of COVID, I started a hashtag support CNY, and we're doing a lot with like our merchandising and stuff that's going to have that, because I just felt the need to just have that and not just support local or support small business, but support our community specifically. You do a great job of supporting businesses here, teams here. Why is it so important to not just be the Mets by ourselves and we don't need you, but to say to the businesses like, hey, not just for a sponsorship, but for your employee appreciation night, that you're not just going to these teams and businesses asking for money, but you're building partnerships and relationships with them.
That's what it's all about. I think that we really have that niche, and we're able to engage with the community we're just a big local business. I don't even know if we're a big local business. We're just a local business. We spend about $6 million. And if we have the choice between doing it with someone locally or doing it some other way, our first choice is always doing it local first, because this is where we live, and this is where we want to support and share our dollars. And there's great businesses. It's not like we're getting any less of a product by doing it local. We're getting someone that cares, that someone we can go knock on their door if something goes wrong, and someone's going to fix it. So doing it local is important to us. We're the second largest attended sporting event in town. We're just a tick behind the men's basketball team. We will overtake them. We will be the number 1 attended sporting event in town. And we're forging that lane locally. So we're going to work with local partners, support local businesses. This year we brought in, some third-party vendors. We brought in Danny's Cheesesteaks. We brought in Pavone's Pizza. We served a lot of local beers, local breweries. And then even in that respect, that we're with Coca-Cola, but it's Coca-Cola over there on Farrell Road. And all those guys, men and women, live here, in the community. And we're Hoffman's Hot Dogs, and we are, Saranac Beer has been supporting the Syracuse Chiefs since 1933. So we're the largest one location source of Saranac beer in the world, and we're proud of that. We live here, we're local, we've been here longer than anybody else. We've been here since 1876, playing baseball in some way, shape, or form. We're not going anywhere, so we're going to keep building those local relationships, bringing out those local organizations, and supporting local business.
So in that respect, I hope for maybe some ideas between the two of us, we can figure something out, because I've respected, obviously what you're doing, and we've grown. I met you a long time ago. My multimedia marketing company, I was a 1-day-a-week show on ESPN for 1 hour. Then we were a 2-day-a-week, 2 hour. And now it's the 5-day-a-week in the morning, but now we have the entertainment show, the Disney base show, the comic book trail show, plus everything else we do, and emceeing events and going out and doing stuff, exclusive multimedia marketing partnerships with colleges and universities. We have a bunch of relationships with the high schools in the area. We, when it comes to local businesses, we're now proud to work with, I think, almost 20 altogether, and everything that we've done, I could not believe that this past July 20th, 2012 was when we started, and now we just had our 10-year anniversary as a business, and to me it feels like it was overnight, but I look forward to the opportunity to figure something out on how maybe we can help improve getting the word out there and doing some cool things together, because I feel that people that care about the community should find a way to figure it out together.
Yeah, I agree. We're always open to listening to everybody. That's what you do. You sit down, you have a conversation, and you see what you can do. It's no harm, no foul. Sometimes things align, sometimes things don't, and you figure it out.
So before we get saddled up here, because we're going to do rapid fire, and you've been great about answering my questions, so yeah. So you're going to get to put me on the hot seat and have some fun with it. But did you have a favorite team growing up, and was it the Mets? And whether it was or not, I want to know your favorite team growing up, and have the Mets converted you?
Yeah, when I grew up, I was a Yankee fan. And yes, the Mets have converted me. I actually gave up on the Yankees years ago when I got into baseball. And at the time, the Yankees were going out buying everybody. They weren't bringing up their own guys. It was before the Core Four and all that stuff. And I kind of jumped over. Then I've just been a vagabond. I jumped over to the Blue Jays for a while, and then I was out of baseball, and I kind of started like in the Pittsburgh Pirates and Andrew McCutchen and all that stuff. But now, in the position that I'm in, I meet the players, so I really root for the players. But now in this 4 years, I know some of the guys, and I root for the Mets. I've been to spring training, and I really honestly root for the Mets. The first thing I do in the morning, I wake up, I hit my little phone, New York Mets news, see what's going on. And I watch the game. I've watched more New York Mets games in the first year that I started watching the Mets than I watched in my entire life. And now I've watched more New York Mets games than probably any other Major League game put together for my entire life. I mean, I watch all the time.
And that's the incredible part of it. It shows that you love what you do. Before we jump into rapid fire, final note is that we had a write-in, and I know you mentioned him, but to hear a little bit more about Fisher's story and just what is special about that. And then I have to personally ask about Brett Beatty, because shout out to Debbie Edmondson and your family down in Texas. As soon as he came over to the Syracuse Mets, she said she saw, because I posted a picture and I said perfect night to be at a game, and I said I put like hello gorgeous or hello beautiful for the stadium, because honestly, being to Major League stadiums, I have to give you credit. The stadium we have here looks like a Major League stadium. And
it's a beautiful stadium.
And so I was sitting there and I took a picture, perfect night, little bit of a breeze. My dad and I were under the overhang, section 213 hanging out, and I got a message from Debbie in response to a bunch of people were liking the picture, and she wrote, and she said, Brett Beatty's a good family friend. She goes, say prayer for him, like cheer him on, show him our love. And then I went to see him a few days later on that Sunday, and then a couple days later, he gets up to bat for the New York Mets, bangs a home run, and I just remember sitting here thinking, this is what the Syracuse Mets do. My friend in Texas saw me at the game, said, this is how small the world is, and everybody on the team, she goes, cheer him on, hope the best for him, send some positivity his way, and then I get to watch him a couple times, and then he's out there for the New York Mets. So I got to see just how cool something like that is, and how incredible of a moment that this friend I care so much for, whose son is going to be the quarterback at Michigan State, Bo, to have that connection with her, for her to mention Brett, for me to watch Brett, and then to see him in the New York Mets, and it was in less than a week.
That first night, he almost won the game for us in the bottom of the ninth. He hit a shot out to the bullpen bar, and it missed going over that wall by about 12 inches. It would have been his first game as a AAA, game-winning walk-off home run. Just missed it. He was there for 6 days, and then they brought him up. Great kid, great kid. His girlfriend came up. She was great. He was really nice. And you can see the talent there, and you can see, he get hit right away. A lot of times I come up from AA to AAA, and it takes a little bit of time to get adjusted, and he did not skip a beat. So happy for him. I hope I never see him again. I hope the next time I see him again is spring training. I always wish that of the guys that go upstairs and get called up. Sometimes it's easy to get called up. It's hard to stay up. But he's stuck around, and he's a great kid, and I'm glad the Mets are giving him a shot.
And about Fisher's story, if you could just jump into that for a little bit.
So Nate Fisher, I didn't know anything about him when he came here at the beginning of the year. I didn't know anything about him. Just a nice guy, real solid citizen. Will volunteer for any of our community events. He had just signed up to we did a baseball camp, and he signed to do the baseball camp. And then he got called up to the Mets, and they weren't sending him right back. I said, we might lose a guy for the baseball camp. And that's when he's up at the big Mets, and then you learn that he was was kind of out of baseball for a whisper and was working in the financial world. But he was with the team that he was with before, and the Mets kind of picked him up, and he was just solid. He's one of those guys that has played all season, kind of like a Connor Gray, Nate Fisher, and has gotten better as the season went on and stood out. So someone you probably never thought that you would think that the Mets were going to take upstairs, maybe never thought he'd be a major leaguer, was a AAA guy for a while, but just kept getting guys out, kept throwing strikes, kept getting guys out, and eventually the baseball department can't ignore that, and they brought him up. He had his cup of coffee. He did his job. They kept him around in case they needed him. Now he's back with us. It'll be interesting to see, as he's the kind of guy I think that they can rely on, and he's somebody that, he's probably one of those guys that'll go up and down, back and forth, and hopefully one day he'll go up and he'll just keep being Nate and stay up there forever.
Alvarez, people saying that the best prospect in baseball just nestled here in Syracuse. What can you say about the happy opportunity of the fact that you've gotten to spend some ample time with him?
I keep saying this, but I really mean it. The whole team is great, and Alvarez is no exception. He's a young kid. He's 20 years old. He is thick. He is thick. When he hits the ball, it goes far. He's hit it out of our stadium. He hit it over the bullpen bar. He hit it out of Lehigh Valley Stadium. He hit a home run the other day that probably would have cleared the old batter's eye. It went about 3/4 of the way up on the current batter's eye that we made 10 feet higher. That's a shot. He's hitting shots that are 450, 475. So he's come a long way. It all the way up to AAA, and then he's kind of, he's been struggling hitting a little bit, but when he has hit it, he's hit it out of the thing. So. It'll be interesting to see how he finishes out the year, but he's got a great attitude. Again, another good kid, goes and signs autographs for the kids. Anything he asks the guy to do, he does. Just a great guy.
As someone who's never been there, if they want an autograph, best time to come out, to the people that want to come down, because my uncle, he's another dad to me, but Papa Joe and Joey, they to this day go to the game. They go to Major League Baseball games, get there early for batting practice, and try to run down there and get some autographs. So if somebody wants to get a ball signed, pennant signed, a hat signed, bring me into how you work it with the Syracuse Mets and how the team, if the majority of the team is advantageous about helping out in that respect.
The guys are good about it. You get there early, you go down to the dugouts, and you just kind of wait. And as they're coming in, if you can get there early enough. We open the gates an hour before the game starts, an hour and 5 minutes. So our guys are usually inside the dugout or the locker room at that point. The visitors are still out there, so you can grab the visitor side first. Then you come over to our side, and as they are going out to warm up for the game, we let the fans sit in front there and get their autographs. The guys are great about signing. Sometimes they'll sign, they'll go over. We do clear those spaces 10 minutes before the first pitch to let the people that actually purchase those seats sit in their seats. I do not think that that's unreasonable. And then after the game, the guys will come over and sign sometimes at the end of the game. And then most of the fans stay outside the players' gates. And as the guys go afterwards, they'll get their stuff signed on both sides. They seem to stay more on the visitors' side because I think they get a lot of the home sides early, so they spend a lot of their times over on the visitors' side.
That being said, in our final portion, rapid fire, we've done it for years on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. This is the Syracuse Mets Spotlight Night on-site on location at the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York for takeout and delivery, 315-487-2222. Bunch of series coming up in September. We got a packed September here for the Syracuse Mets, so make sure you're heading out to NBT and seeing this fantastic team play. You never know what you're going to see, and like Jason said, our special guest here, general manager of the Syracuse Mets, Jason Smorol, there's something for every night. Star Wars night still coming up here, another Marvel night on its way. So you've been great about answering mine. I'm going to give you 3. You can ask me anything in the world. It's live video and audio. I have to answer it.
All right, so 3 questions that I got to ask you. All right. Over under, Syracuse University football wins this year at 5.
I got them right there. I got them right at 5.
You got to go over or under. You can't take the number.
I'm going to say
it's not 5.5. It's not 4.5. I made it 5.
I know. So my prediction's 5 and 7. So I'll say they got a chance at 6 and 6. I'll say over.
I'm going 6 and 6 myself. Second question. What is your favorite steak sandwich in Syracuse?
Oh, my favorite one used to be Heroes and Legends at the fair, which doesn't exist anymore. That was fantastic. My favorite steak, Philly steak now? I think
it's got to be current. It can't be of historical nature.
No. I like the one here at the Wildcat. I'm not saying that because I'm here. I always get it with marinara sauce on the side. But the one that you got at the stadium, my dad and I got that a couple weeks ago. Not too shabby, so.
All right, shout out to Danny's Steaks. All right, the fair is.
I've always wanted to try Danny's Steaks.
Yeah.
So I'm happy you have them because it gave me an excuse to do it.
There you go. The state fair is in town.
Yes.
What is your favorite concert you ever saw at the state fair?
Well, I used to work at the grandstand.
There you go.
So I got to see all the concerts for free, and I got to sit. I got to be right on ground level. So I saw a lot.
You saw a lot. If you worked at the grandstand, you saw a lot.
Oh, a lot. I'd probably say my favorite is I saw Journey with 2 different leads at the time. So I got to see Arnel Pineda, and then I got to see prior to him. And I don't know if it was Steve Perry when he came back or it was the other guy that was there for a short time.
Oh, the guy from like the extreme guy.
Yeah, there was a guy that was there for a little while. But Arnel Pineda, when he turns his back to you, and you just like see a little bit of facial hair and the hair, his voice is Steve Perry.
Isn't it? It's crazy.
And he's a Filipino. And so I would probably say Journey. I got to see Train there, which I love Train and Maroon 5. But the crazy thing about my life is I was never a country fan. I worked all these country concerts. I became a country fan well after. And now I'm looking back on it going, man, I had Brooks and Dunn. I had all these concerts that I should have like cared about a lot more. But
Garth Brooks at the fair? Did you ever see Garth Brooks? He had a blowout one there.
So I had Reba in her farewell tour that wasn't. I had B.B. King's Jazz where he had like 13 different people with him. I had Britney Spears a couple times. I had Faith Hill. I had Toby Keith, Kenny Chesney, and I gotta tell you, my favorite has to be this one though, because I met her, I spoke with her for a couple minutes, and I was one of the only guys that didn't hit on her. So we actually had a genuine human being conversation, and I'll never forget that I felt like we had a moment in time. She looked me in the eye, we talked for a couple minutes, and we had a conversation like we were just 2 people sitting at a bar, which was really cool. And I got her autograph on one of my favorite shirts, so I've never worn it again, is Carrie Underwood.
Outstanding.
Very nice human being.
That's fantastic.
And I've seen her concerts more than I've seen anybody else. I've seen her 3 times, twice here and once in Wachovia, whatever it's called now, but the Wachovia Arena in Wilkes-Barre. So yeah, I've seen some good ones here. And my first concert I ever saw was here when I was 14 years old. And I'm not ashamed, I saw Backstreet. So saw the Backstreet Boys with one of my close friends who claimed that he was not a boy band fan. I was like, man, Boyz II Men's a boy band. We're all boy band fans in some respects. So.
Well, I'm so old. I saw Journey at the Carrier Dome with Steve Perry.
Oh, you did? So, yeah, that opportunity at the and I,
got hit by a carload of Chinese people. My brother had to stay with the police. We walked to the Dome ourselves. We bought the tickets at Sears and Roebuck. These guys in front of us, they know what they're talking about.
Well, and so I've never been. Here's a bucket list. I've never been to a concert at the Dome.
Yeah, I used to see a bunch. Saw the Who at the Dome. Saw Bruce Springsteen, Rolling Stones.
Have you seen
Journey, Foreigner? I
Billy
saw
Joel?
Foreigner, the Jukebox Hero Tour. Now they're playing the fair.
Did you see Billy? Did you see Billy Joel?
I never saw Billy. He played there like 7 times. I never saw him there.
Yeah. Elton John.
He's like coming this weekend, isn't he?
Yeah, he's coming up here very soon. So, I will say, Boyz II Men was just here. I didn't get to see him, and I was bummed. But I got to see Boyz II Men when I worked in Disney. They came into the restaurant that I helped run the dining room for. They came to Sci-Fi when I was the assigner there running the dining room, and I got to see them in concert at Epcot. So
Boyz II Men are awesome. That girl's Poison. Is that Boyz II Men? Or
that's Belle Biv
That's
DeVoe.
Belle Biv DeVoe.
So, new edition, found Boyz II Men.
Okay, you gotta get me up with my boy band stuff.
And
But I don't mind boy bands.
Belle Biv DeVoe, I will never, ever forget that song because it still rings true. And by the way...
Rob Moore, you're dead.
Yeah, and Rob Moore. And I sat on this stage with Duke Pettijohn and Rob Drummond and Rob Carpenter, and they said to me, they go, you know that Rob Moore, your dad, is that Rob Moore. And Rob and I met when he was coaching the receivers here, so Rob Moore, your dad, is very much the Syracuse Rob Moore.
How crazy is that? I love it.
Yeah, they were not happy with Rob at a party. So shout out to Rob Moore. Hope you're living well. With that being said, the Syracuse Mets Spotlight Night here with General Manager Jason Smorol, myself, Dan Tortora, live at the Wildcat. We're here every single month at the Wildcat, and we can't wait to see you with West Genesee and so many great things we get to do here. Our West Genesee show has been here for many, many years, and we thank them right over the hill at West Genesee for the Wildcat. So shout out to everybody that's watched and listened in the community and around the world on Facebook.com and YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. You know where to find us in all of your favorite podcasting platforms: Amazon Music, Audible, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, Podbean, Podvine, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, and on and on. So we'll talk with you soon. You know, Wake Up Calls every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And as always, go support your Mets. Plenty of games here in September. No excuse, because they have blanketed September in orange. So with that being said, this has been a Spotlight Night, and we look forward to spotlighting the Mets for all these games coming up. Jason, as always, thank you for your time.
Dan, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Talk with you soon.